Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the senior quarterback for Notre Dame West Haven, Matt Pacoda. Matt, thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I always love having quarterbacks on. I love having every position on, although I have not had a kicker yet. So I'm still on the, searching for that.
I
But
do punt. I do punt, so I'm kind of close.
you do punt. You know what? That's good. I'll take that. That's good. Multifaceted athlete as well on the football field as you are as far as sports in general. But
Yeah.
when I talk to quarterbacks, very cerebral, even at the high school level, man. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Before we talk about your time at Notre Dame West Haven, I do want to talk about as far as the younger Matt, as far as sports itself. Um, kind of what got you playing what I'm guessing is multiple sports when you were a kid.
Yeah, so I was growing up, I kind of played everything. It started with baseball. That was the first love, and that's what I've been doing. And then it kind of fell into some basketball. And really, I'd always ask my mom, can I play football? But she wasn't all about the tackling for a while, so I couldn't really get into it. Because my brother, she was against my brother playing too, and his first year wasn't until eighth grade. So that me trying to convince her and battle with her to try to get me to do that was a big thing. So I ended up starting playing in sixth grade, Milford Eagles. That was my first year in sixth grade, and we were unbelievable. We went to nationals twice. We were winning state championships, doing the regionals and stuff. So that for me, that was an awesome experience. That made me really love football. It was such a great team and such a great atmosphere. We were winning all the time, so it was a great group of guys. But for the most part, I didn't start playing quarterback till eighth grade. I was playing tight end and wide receiver and corner sixth and seventh grade. And even in eighth grade, we were just handing the ball off the whole time. We were running wishbone and handing it off. So kind of when I got to Notre Dame, it was kind of like, okay, here it is. You're finally throwing the ball. So it was a big change for sure.
The wishbone offense. I mean, I broadcast in the NVL, and the NVL likes to stick to the 1940s as far as playing very old. Now, there's some different younger coaches who like to sling it, but it's I could see, that dynamic where, like you just said, hand the rock off and hey, at least you were able to stay pretty. You didn't get dirty or anything.
And it worked. It worked really well for us. We had some great running backs. Actually, Riley Jordan, who plays running back at St. Joe's, he was one of them. Ethan Long, who just transferred to Brunswick. So I mean, we had a great backfield, a lot of talented guys. So it was to give them the ball it was pretty easy for me.
Now, when you said you played tight end, wide receiver, and such, now I'm just thinking quarterback wise. Do you feel like when you look back on it now that playing those positions kind of give you, now I know you're not thinking as you're dropping back, like, oh, back when I played tight end, go this way or that way. But just because you played those positions, is there any correlation to now the quarterback position for you?
I'd say it helped me a little bit, kind of with just like seeing things on the field and kind of knowing when things will come open, maybe a little bit more. I wasn't thinking a ton about it back then, but now thinking about it, I would say it has helped me, and just like things they're developing and stuff like that. It's helped me a little bit to be able to see it from both sides.
And with you playing football later, I almost think about like running backs, for example. It seems like that the running backs who don't have a lot of tread on the tires when they're younger seem to last longer if they have opportunities to play at the high school, the college, and then obviously pro if they can get to that point.
Yeah,
So, and I understand your mom, and hey, every parent's got, they want to protect, your mom want to protect,
of
protect the
course.
babies, respect that. And I think in a lot of ways, not that I'm against people playing football when they're younger, but I could see the argument of playing when, a little bit older, because then it kind of allows you to play multiple sports if you want to be able to do various things, but also get away from the head, the helmet to helmet contact that I see at younger ages. And it makes me cringe, man. Really.
Yeah, it's tough. So I think the biggest thing for me was kind of just like grow up and mature a little bit, because for me, I was the bigger kid, and I was the older, lighter and Pop Warner. So for me, like that was an advantage, and I think that it actually helps me now. It's because I didn't have all that wear and tear, and I just those years were so helpful for me, and being the bigger guy was nice.
Now, when you entered Notre Dame West Haven, did you know about the history of the program? Because back when I was playing college baseball, I remember that the high school would play, because we used to play at Quigley. before
Yeah.
my college got their own field. And I remember a lot of times, because we would play at night, they were using the field. You guys would be on the field during the day. And as somebody who followed even when I was in college, I was always intrigued by the athletes and just the seriousness of which you guys, which every program I feel like has this, but just watching you guys a little bit more because I was seeing it with my own eyes, the seriousness of which you guys carried yourself. Did you know, as far as the program football wise, if that was the same?
Yeah, so my brother played. He was part of the Nico Reganey era. He played alongside Nico, same graduating class. So, he also played wide receiver with him. So going to those games and just seeing those guys dominate and carry that chip on their shoulder constantly, and like they were going out there and just absolutely, balling out, playing great. So I got to see that and kind of I fell in love with it. Seeing that all that stuff, Nico running all over the place, running touchdowns. That defense was unreal. So, that for me was, that's how I kind of learned about it and knew that's something, that I wanted to be a part of.
Now he's at Iowa still, right?
Yeah, Nico is, she's still got so many years of eligibility left, but yeah.
I was just thinking about that because I'm like, wait, I don't remember his name being called as far as the draft. I know he wasn't drafted as a non-drafted signee. So I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
is he still in school?
Yeah, he's got like 2 more years left, I'm pretty sure. So he's going to enjoy it while he can, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, hey, if he's putting up numbers and keeps, I mean, Iowa, I mean, the Hawkeyes know
Yeah.
their football. They're always good for at least 2 upsets a year for
Oh
football.
yeah, and they're getting better and better every year, and he's just getting better and better himself. He's balling out, so good for him. And you love to see that guy, from West Haven, that played at Notre Dame, that's now doing it big.
Now, your freshman year was not affected by COVID, correct? It was your sophomore year.
Yeah, I didn't have a sophomore year. I didn't have
Okay.
a sophomore football season. That was my 7-on-7 time.
So before we get to that, your freshman year, varsity, non-varsity, where were you as far on the depth chart?
We so yeah, freshman, I was just playing freshman football, but we had an unbelievable team. I mean, we were 9-0-1. We only so we didn't lose a game our freshman year, so it was really nice. And our class was just so talented, and now we're hoping to kind of carry that into this season as well.
Now, being that you played freshman and such, coming from the offense at Notre Dame West Haven was a little bit more open, slinging the ball a little bit more, correct?
Yes, we're spread
Okay.
out and we're slinging it.
So for you, freshman year kind of had to be like almost like you were born again because you were going from the wishbone to now it's like, wait, I'm actually allowed to throw the football more than once or twice a game. Like that must have been pretty cool. But at the same time, was it a little bit overwhelming because now there was more responsibility on you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Now I'm not just under center and giving it to Riley or Ethan. It's a whole different thing. So, but Coach Griff, who's my freshman coach, did a great job with me and working with me and helping me just ease into the offense. And he was just there constantly believing in me and pushing me. So, and again, there's so much talent around our class, and those guys are great. And so it was kind of easy for me to kind of flow into that offense and just kind of start slinging it. Because once I started doing that, I fell in love with it. So, for me, it was all about Coach Griff just helping me ease into that offense and getting it there and getting it there. And then my sophomore year, DCAP and Pat Schreck, who unfortunately couldn't play that year, but those guys helped me out and even developing that year and to get ready for the following season.
Now, the dumb question would be, oh, how did it feel to lose your sophomore year? I'm not going to ask that. But what I will ask is, as far as because there was 7-on-7, there was something. It was better than nothing, but as somebody quoted, 7-on-7 is not football,
No,
which, yeah,
no.
exactly. So, but I had a conversation with somebody, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, who was on this podcast. And he said the 7-on-7 helped him immensely. And I'm pretty sure it was from the same position, the quarterback position, because it allowed him to be able to, I guess, in his mind, go through defenses, but he was doing the extra stuff, taking the extra reps more than just the 7-on-7. So for you, was there any benefit at all from that 7-on-7? Because there wasn't much, but it was something.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think for me, 7-on-7 was actually a really good experience. I got to learn, all these different defenses and why they're doing certain things and what's going to come open against certain things and what we need to run and what I need to call and stuff like that. So I think for me, it was honestly a great thing for me to have because I don't think I was gonna play my sophomore year anyway. So for me to have that thing where it was just a giant learning experience was, yeah, that was huge for me to be able to see the defenses and learn about all these different things. It was big.
And moving forward, as I think at some point we started to see light at the end of the tunnel. And then when we find out football's back, we're having football last
Yes.
year. I mean, I don't need to ask, oh, were you guys happy? It must have been like cloud nine for everybody.
We were stoked. We were so excited. A bunch of us were at the protest when it got shut down. So a lot of us were there. We all want to play, but once we knew it was go time to go this last year, we were all fired up and ready to go.
How was it for you as far as kind of being away from the game as everybody was who was returning and then to come back? But there was a lot of protocols, there was a lot of situations, had to make sure everything was followed. Um, was that the difficult spot, or was it more so just getting back to the routine of practices and conditioning and whatnot?
I think the protocols were definitely a little hard to follow. It's a little different. You're in that locker room setting. You kind of just want to be, buddy buddies with all your guys. But it's tough to have the restrictions for. I think we had it for a decent amount of the season. So yeah, it was tough. But also it was getting back into that practice, because for a lot of us, especially my class, it was our first sense of varsity practice, right? And actually like hitting and being decap, being screaming and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a big jump for us, I would say. So I think that was probably the more difficult part, was getting used to that varsity feel and varsity practice.
And for you, being on the varsity level as well, it was your first opportunity. And let's be real, I mean, I don't know what the situation would have been your sophomore year, but when you look at it, it was almost like you were, as again, to go back to quoting, there was a coach who said, the juniors or the seniors last year were technically juniors because of the time that they missed, so they had to speed them up. So for you, you were still, you were a junior on the field last year, but realistically you were only a freshman because of everything that was missed and such because of COVID.
Oh yeah, it was so tough. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that played into our season last year, is we made a lot of young mistakes. And it was just that varsity experience, because even for us, I think, which helps a lot of teams, is when you're sophomores and you're practicing against the juniors and seniors, right? You're getting your butt kicked a little bit, but you're learning a lot about the game even with that. So I think that missing that year made us have a lot of sophomore mistakes last year, which kind of led to maybe an underwhelming season.
But even with that, though, you know, the amount of talent that is coming back, like you said, young players make mistakes, but if they learn from it, you get what could be a special season. And like
Yes.
I said, you have a lot of players, you're coming back, which is huge. When you have a quarterback coming back, that's half the battle right there. I mean, the NVL, where again, like I said, I broadcast, there's only a handful of teams who have their quarterback coming back at all. So that's got to be very comfortable for you knowing that you're back, but you also have a lot of your, the fellows back who played a lot as far as the varsity level last year.
Oh yeah, for sure. We have a ton of starters returning, and even some of the guys that are being replaced, like they either played a lot or they ended up starting one or two games because of injuries and stuff like that. So, and again, having that year of learning, we've changed a lot of things, we've added a lot of new things. So, we're really excited about this year, and because we got such a talented squad, and from last year, that just fires us up even more to be as competitive as possible. So it's just we're juiced up and ready to go.
What was the biggest thing last year? I'm sure there was a lot, but for you from the quarterback position, what was the most important thing that you learned that can be, I guess, enhanced more this season?
The biggest thing I probably learned was, one, how tough the quarterback position really is, how much work that goes in is. I learned that really fast. There's so much that goes into it. And I think having the trust with everybody, especially as a quarterback, you got to trust your guys up front. You got to trust your receivers. You got to trust your running back, because, without them, you're not going to go anywhere. And so it's kind of got to be this big thing that you got to pick them up and they have to pick you up. And you kind of have to work at this big cohesive unit. Because if someone's stagnant, or like if I'm upset, then, Robbie, my receiver, is going to be like, oh, well, he's mad at me that I dropped the pass. And, and then that whole chemistry is all mixed up. So it's trusting each other and believing in one another, and, having each other's back. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I picked up from last year.
Now, one group in particular that we have not mentioned yet is the fellas up front, the Hogs, the offensive line. I mean, Hogs in the most polite way. What do you got as far as returning back, and how's that shaping up so far?
Yeah, we got 3 guys returning up front. So we're pretty confident about that. You know, shout out Josh, Brendan, Jimmy, you know, those the big boys in the middle are coming back. Unfortunately, both of our tackles left. They're gone. So we're replacing them with some new guys, but you know, I'm very confident in them that they're going to get the job done, whoever it is. So you know, it's just trusting those guys and believing in them, and you know, giving them the time to to get where they are, because you know, again, it's just you're going to learn over practice. You know, you're going to have your sophomore, junior, mistakes, and you know, it's just getting there and just believing in him. You know, picking him up when he messes up, because you know that's kind of what I would want the same way, and so would the rest of the team.
I think it helps that you have 3 of the 5 returning, because then those 3, especially the 2 guards, can help out the tackles as far as during practice. And the center, I mean, he can just help out everybody,
Yeah.
because when you have that position, I mean, that's the guy handing you, or rather hiking the football to you. You got to have that trust. So I think it's good to have that core back and to help out the younger tackles.
Oh, definitely, for sure. It's huge to have them because they have the experience, right? There's only so much I can say about blocking and everything, but to have that guy next to you, that especially Josh, who's an all-state guy, to have him next to you to pick you up and encourage you, that's a big thing.
Now, I was watching some film on you before we had this, and I felt like I saw a lot. I saw some running, I saw passing. So, as an athletic quarterback, because you play baseball, very good. Basketball, again, very good. Not surprised. So, how difficult is it? Because we see in college and in the pros that we're seeing more mobile quarterbacks. I mean, Lamar Jackson's probably the best at it, in my opinion.
Oh,
I
for
mean, he won
sure.
an MVP, goes without saying. But how tempting is it for you to run when maybe you should pass? I know it's a split second thing, but run when you should pass, or maybe, the other way around. How hard is that sometimes for you?
Yeah, for me, it's more probably I should be running more than I should be passing. I think that decap gets on me for that way more, 100%. Because for me, I get out the pocket and all I think is scramble drill. Everyone's going deep, right? Everyone's going here and here. So I'm just looking for an opportunity to sling it. So for me, it's probably I got to run a little bit more than I should, because I throw it deep incompletion, and then you look back on film, it's like I could have had the first down. So that's for me, it's a little more tempting to throw the long ball, because I just I'm a gunslinger. I love to throw it as much as I run, but for me the deep ball's huge, so I got to run it a little bit more, I would say.
If he ever says anything about running, just be like, Coach, I was just doing a semi-pro. I don't know if you ever see that movie. I'm just rovering. I'm just rovering.
I'm just looking for the guys deep, because if I don't throw it, they come back and they're like, hey, I was wide open. I'm like, all right.
Well, you know what's funny? I'm glad you said that, because I think, what was that? I was watching, maybe it was a movie. I don't know. I have so many movies in my head, but wide receivers love to say, dude, I was wide open. But
Every
really, it's
time.
like, were you open, or was he on you like glue?
Every time. It's no matter where they are. You'll go back on film, the guy will be right behind him, and you'll be like, Robbie, didn't you, tell me you were open? He's like, man, I'm always open. They're always open.
It's the confidence. But at the same time, though, it's like, well, also be honest. Were you
Yeah, yeah.
actually open or no? You know what I mean?
It's okay. I love that when the guys are a little greedy and they want the ball in their hand. That's a good thing.
Now, the running back position, what do you have coming back there?
So we have Jacob last year, Jacob Staten, who was unbelievable. I mean, he averaged last year, I think, over 5 yards a carry. And he's slimmed down, got a lot stronger and faster. So I mean, he's going to be another explosive year for him, hopefully.
Mhm.
And John Evans this year, who's going to be a rising junior, who's just been unbelievable in practice so far. So between the two of them, I think we have a great backfield. And fullback Christian Lewis, who's really he's a DN, but you put him back there and he'll truck and get you at least 3. So between the 3 of them, I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal what those guys can do.
With the season just a couple weeks away, I'm sure you guys are chomping at the bit. I mean, the fact that, having the first full week practice, last week was OTAs and such, it's got to be, you can almost smell that it's getting there. Um, the schedule is always competitive for you guys, always. Um, but when you think about it, it prepares you if you can qualify for the state tournament. What says you?
Yeah, that I think when we heard about the new what the new classes right now, that there's double M and double S and all these new stuff, for us that's beneficial. We kind of we're okay with that, because now we're always playing up. We're always playing teams that are bigger than us. I mean, we only have one team on our schedule that's Class M, and that's Hand, and they're always, they're a powerhouse every year. So, for us, that's a big thing because now we can go 7-3 and still make the playoffs. But we've already been battle tested all season. We've played the playoff teams. We've played, the Xaviers, who's always there, the Preps and the Sheltons, and all those guys who are constantly in the playoffs. So for us, that it's we love it, to have that tough season to really ready us for the playoffs.
The SEC is very good, man. I mean, I've talked to the commissioner of the SEC, Mr. Carbone, and he's, I always like to tell him the SEC kind of reminds me of the SEC, not the SEC, but the SEC, just because of the competitiveness and how it just seems like every week is like, you're going to come back from a game with some lost teeth, maybe a black and blue, but no, seriously. And you mentioned Xavier. Prep last year, if I remember right, they won a game that I think Game Time didn't even have them winning or not in the top 10 or something like that. I remember that. I mean, do you know anything about that?
I think it was game one when I
Right.
think they were playing Hand, and Hand was highly ranked.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it was that one. But again, like you said, you're playing guys that are going to come to play every week. It doesn't matter who it is or how hard they're ranked. In the SEC, these guys are flying around and they're going to hit you hard, and it's tough football.
And there's a lot of potential as far as the next level guys. I mean, the SEC has a lot of guys who have an opportunity to play college ball. I know you're one of them as well. We don't have to talk about the schools, but I know you have a lot of interest from a couple. There's a few others that want to see more tape. So for you, how hard is that going to be to not put extra pressure on yourself to do too much to try to impress and just let your talents, as I like to say in baseball, let the bat eat, just let your talent eat.
Yeah, that's for sure. A lot of it's not think about that. It's a really tough thing. But I think, at the end of the day, I just got to go out there and play. That's the biggest thing. Because, if I have all this other things in my head, then of course, I'm going to put too much on myself and I'm just not going to be able to perform. So I think for me, it's just going out there, taking that deep breath. And once that whistle blows, I'm in, I'm locked in, and I'm only worried about, how are we going to win the game? I'm not worried about, who's in the stands watching. So yeah, the biggest thing for me is just keeping focus, playing, and not worrying about anything else.
Now, do you have, I know a state championship. I know that's a goal for everybody. And I think it's
Yes.
funny when people say it, it's like, yes, I know that's a goal for you. I know that. It's everybody's. But for you in particular, what kind of goals have you set for yourself personally? You can be selfish for 1 second.
For myself, I all conference, all state. That's a big thing. Of course, leading team state championship. I think another cool thing that we like to have is maybe an SEC title. Be the best team in the SEC. That's a big thing. I guess those are the biggest things for me. The team goals are the biggest ones of mine. But of course, I'd love to have the personal accolades with all state and all conference.
Well, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on here. This was a lot of fun being able to talk about the team and yourself and being able to have an idea where, I mean, hey, if you guys get to the state championship, I could be on the call for that game for the NFHS. So that'd be really, really cool. And I'd actually have your name right compared to,
You would, which I would very much appreciate.
and I'm sure your family would too. Cause when they, for people who may not know, your name's been said a couple other various ways. You want to share that real quick?
Yeah, I get it all. I get the, Piacata, Pichota, I get everything, but it's Matt Picota. It's okay if you guys mess it up, but it is Matt Picota.
Pia Coda sounds like something you order off a restaurant or something.
I don't know how they get it, at least the pie part, I feel like you got to get correct, but
Yeah, like pie, like pia coda, like it says pie in there.
I thought that would be an easy gimme, but I guess not.
But hey, Matt, again, a lot of fun being able to have you on. Hopefully, you had fun and you can come back on sometime in the near future.
For sure, for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. That wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm our journey, find them all. Do what they should do, everybody, and be well.